Okay, see what she says.
Hey guys, so I'm talking to Toney Weatherman and Karen Weatherman.
Hi.
Hey, thanks for letting me interview you guys. And
Sure.
some of you probably know that we are the parents of one Woodroe Weatherman, who plays in this little known band that's been around for a tiny Corrosion of Conformity. And
Few years.
And Toney and Karen here also contributed to my first, not my first book, but the Man-Child 5 Rabid Pack of Sirens Howling book, which is like a kind of an oral history about North Carolina, mainly Raleigh, North Carolina, in the 80s, and they were participants in that. And so I just want to ask you guys a few questions about that time period, because I think it's pretty interesting that you guys, it's not totally uncommon for parents to be supportive of their children who end up becoming dangerous, scary punk rockers like Woody did. But what do you guys think about him getting into that kind of music? And do you think that, like Toney, your background in actually playing music kind of paved the way for his interest in music?
Well, I don't know if it paved his way, but he grew up listening to a lot of folk music, country music, bluegrass, old time fiddle tunes, and but when he got started, of course, it was I guess it was more like punk rock.
Yeah.
Well, Led Zeppelin was actually the first song. Like most bands, they started out with Stairway to Heaven.
Came out of the basement a lot, didn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
yeah, that's one reason that we understood musicality and the musical choices people might make,
Right.
and what the purpose of it was, and so we had a better understanding. We knew that what the basis of the love of music was,
Yeah.
and didn't really think about what a future would bring, or was he going to make money or starve or whatever, because
He was just happy then, so it made us
yeah,
happy.
so
Yeah.
seemed to be the thing to do.
Right. Right. And is it really true that you took your son to see Black Flag in 1982 in Raleigh?
Yeah.
That's pretty. To me, that's a really great, entertaining story. Were
Yeah.
you impressed with what you saw?
Oh yeah. We came early, and I signed for maybe 4 or 5 other people to get in,
He was reading.
as long as some adult signed, whether it was their parents or not.
He was
Yeah.
going to go in with them, and then he was just going to leave, and then when he thought it was kind of
Oh
time.
yeah,
So he was the first one in.
yeah. Woody and I and those other guys were the first ones in, and Black Flag came out to do their warm up, and it was so interesting. I'd never heard anything like that. I've seen hillbillies act like that, but they were playing different music. Oddly enough, hillbillies will cut up just like that when they're playing music under certain conditions.
Right.
He was the last
But
one to
anyway,
leave that night.
I stayed for the whole thing. It was just great. I'd never seen slam dancing before, never heard punk rock really. I don't know how they all knew about it and seemed to be real familiar with it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, yeah, we were the last ones to leave, and it was great.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys have always been supportive of your son's band, and I remember you guys told me stories of how sometimes you would bring sandwiches to shows for the kids and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that something that you orchestrated, Karen, or did you
Probably. Well,
Yeah, she did.
I did that because, sometimes they didn't make much money, and I was hoping that when Woody and the band was on tour, that somebody else's mother might bring sandwiches to feed them.
Were you guys scared at all of Woody going on tour in 1983 and 84 as because my parents let me go when I was 18 years old, and I look back and I think, man, that's just kind of crazy to put that much trust in your kid, just.
We were worried, but before he left, we said, now don't, if you're out late at night, be just telling all the cautionary things that you should do. And he said, well, I think it was you that were telling him. He said, well, Mom, just look at us. Who's going to mess with us?
Yeah.
And there were 6 or 8 of them that were going on this tour.
I think it was.
And they were, you
5.
know, big old burly guys. So
They had everything in that old carry-all of ours to go out there. And Woody didn't turn 18 till almost the end of the summer. And they'd already been all the way across the country and played out in the desert and everywhere and back before he was 18.
That's amazing. Do you guys mind recounting the infamous story, the Battle of the Bands story where COC played that ended up with you starting a riot by slapping the sound man in the face?
The riot had already
no,
started.
it has already started.
Can you set up the scenario of that occasion?
Okay, it was the Battle of the Bands, and all the bands were real young, and I think they were the second or the third band that had came on that night, and there was a punk band, and so when they started playing, the people in the audience up front started slam dancing. Well, the people on stage, I don't know, I guess they thought that they were,
Yeah, well, they were
Rioting.
like us. They'd never seen it.
yeah,
So they thought it was a fight.
and they unplugged Mike's bass player. They threw Eric off the stage.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, so they just cut that down. And so Woody and them went to the back of Dorton Arena, which is a big old arena here. And so me and his daddy said, okay, well, we better go see what's happening to him. And we went back there, and they were all talking. And then this guy that, I don't even know his name to the day. I don't know what the guy's name was, but he was screaming and yelling at him, and he went over and he pulled his hand back to slap Mike, the bass player. And I thought, no, his mama's not here. No, that's not gonna happen. So I guess the mama bear or something come out of him, and I just hauled back and slapped him.
Right.
Well, 2 days later, 2 policemen came to our store and gave me a summons to appear in court. So I appeared in court, and I told the truth that I did slap him, and what it was about. And so I was convicted of slapping this guy who I don't even know his name, and I had to pay $30. And so then 30 years later, a gentleman here in town who's the music critic for the News and Observer, he wrote this, and the girl that took pictures, she come and did a video and had it online, but it wasn't in the paper, but the article was. Well, the guy's wife took offense to it. She had been, I mean, this is something that happened 30 years before, and threatened to sue the News and Observer for
Slander?
yeah, and nobody said his name, nobody knew it. I still don't know his name.
So I better watch out then, huh?
Yeah, and so at the video,
Buddy, don't even waste your time.
because we don't even know who you are. We don't even care. Anyway,
Yeah.
and yes, and then so I kept asking David about it, and this 2 years after it happened, he said, well, the guy was looking for somebody that had a recording of it, and he saw the recording, and he saw that it was his fault that I slapped him and dropped his charges.
Right. Well, I'm going to finish this up real quick by asking you guys, this other question is, do you have a funny or fond memory of the 2 departed COC members, Reed Mullen and Eric Ike, that you could share?
Well, Eric lived near our business, and so we'd see him all the time. And Reed, his mom and daddy had a business that was right around the corner from our business, and the
So
bands.
they were like neighborhood
Yeah,
kids too.
and
And so we knew them at an early age.
yeah, and when they started in our basement, and then they went to. I think they did it over at Reed's mom and daddy's place of business. Didn't they?
Where
Played
Sam and
practiced.
Bill's is now.
Yeah, so they practiced down there, and I mean, we knew Reed since he was 16, and
Yeah.
Mike, I think he's probably the same age as Woody, so he's a little bit older.
You mean Eric?
I mean, Eric, yeah, excuse me, and and but Reed's mom and daddy were real involved.
Well, he was from the neighborhood too. They
Yeah.
lived on Groveland Avenue.
Yeah, and they were
And-
real involved with Reed's, when he was playing music with them too. But yeah, it's just they've known these kids since they were teenagers, and
Yeah, very talented, and I liked Eric's style of singing. He was a good punk rock
he
singer.
was a real good punk rock singer.
I've seen him jump off a stage, and it was sort of like crowd surfing, but they dropped him, and he fell on the floor
And jump right back up.
directly on his back, and just jumped right back up and kept on going.
All right.
Take a licking and keep on
He
ticking.
sure did.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for letting me ask you some
Certainly
questions.
welcome.
Sure.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.